Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are focusing our lens on the absolute fabric of our planet. We're talking about the ultimate asset, the literal foundation of every single system that keeps our world functioning, breathing, and, well, thriving. We're going to decode exactly what this biological wealth looks like, how it's structured, and what's currently threatening to drain its reserves. We've got a lot of fascinating ground to cover, so let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. The core metaphor you're going to want to keep in mind for this entire explainer is that biodiversity is our living wealth. I want you to think of Earth's biology like a massive global bank account. But, instead of dollars or euros, this account is packed with living organisms. It's an incredibly vast reserve of biological assets that we draw from every single day just to survive. When this account is full and diverse, we prosper. But when it depletes, we face a serious crisis.
So here's a quick roadmap of how we'll break down this biological bank account today. 1. Earth's living wealth. 2. The 3 levels of life. 3. The value of biodiversity. 4. Tracking threatened species. And finally, 5. Protecting megadiverse centers.
All right, Section 1, Earth's living wealth. Let's define our biological assets.
The term itself actually gives it away. Biodiversity is literally a combo of 2 words. Bio, meaning life, and diversity, meaning variety. But hey, it's way more than just a simple headcount of animals. It's about the incredible variability among all living organisms on Earth. So we're talking about the number and variety of plants, animals, and microorganisms. But crucially, it also includes the variability within a species, literally down to their genes, and the variability between totally different ecosystems in a given geographic region. It's the absolute sum of all biological variation, the whole shebang.
Moving on to Section 2, the 3 levels of life. Let's move to and see how this builds, zooming out from genes to ecosystems.
So biodiversity is actively measured at 3 distinct escalating levels. Think of this like a camera lens pulling back. We start up close with genetic diversity, then we widen the lens to see species diversity, and finally we pull all the way back to capture ecosystem diversity.
Starting fast and tight at the microscopic level, we've got genetic diversity. Genes are basically the foundational currency of life, right? They're the basic building blocks of all life forms. Genetic biodiversity refers to the variation of genes within a specific species. And just a quick refresher, a species is simply a group of individual organisms sharing similarities in their physical traits. Like humans, all genetically belong to the Homo sapiens group. The amazing variation within our shared genetic code, that's genetic diversity.
Now we zoom out one level to species diversity. This is exactly what it sounds like, the number and variety of different species coexisting in a defined area. We measure this through a few key metrics: the richness of the species, their total abundance, and the different types present. What's really fascinating here is that this diversity isn't evenly spread across the globe. Some geographic regions are just incredibly rich in species compared to others. We actually call these highly concentrated areas hotspots of diversity.
Finally, we pull our camera all the way back to the macro level, ecosystem diversity. This looks at the broad differences between entire ecosystem types, the huge variety of habitats, and the really complex ecological processes happening inside them. Now, unlike a country with a strict border drawn on a map, the boundaries of communities and ecosystems are super fluid. The demarcation is really complex. A perfect example of this is the Indira Gandhi National Park in Annamalai, Western Ghats. There, you've got sprawling grasslands and dense shola forests seamlessly interacting with each other.
Which brings us to Section 3, the value of biodiversity. Let's look at the dividends our wealth actually pays.
Make no mistake, humankind relies heavily on continuous withdrawals from this biological account. The economic commodities that biodiversity directly supplies to us are just staggering. We rely on it absolutely for our food crops, our livestock, the forests that give us timber and oxygen, the fish in our oceans, and incredibly critical medicinal resources. Without a diverse biological portfolio, our physical and economic survival literally grinds to a halt.
But beyond just what we consume, biodiversity plays a massive ecological and scientific role. It's essentially an insurance policy for the planet. You see, the more diverse an ecosystem is, the better the chances that its species will survive adversities and attacks. Because of this resilience, diverse ecosystems are inherently more productive. The crucial point here is cause and effect. Losing species directly decreases an entire ecosystem's ability to maintain itself. Add to that the ongoing, critical scientific value of studying these complex interactions, and you can definitely see why protecting this diversity is an absolute must.
Section 4. Tracking threatened species. Let's talk about the forces bankrupting our account.
Right now, there are two massive, human-driven forces causing a scary deficit in biodiversity. First up, pollutants. We're talking specifically about pesticides and industrial pollutants like hydrocarbons and toxic heavy metals. These toxic substances act like a poison in the bank, ruthlessly destroying weak and environmentally sensitive species. The second major threat, exotic species. These are species that aren't natural inhabitants of a local habitat, but they get introduced into the system, almost always by humans. When these non-native exotics arrive, they frequently cause extensive, irreversible damage to the natural biotic community that already lives there.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we actually categorize those extinction risks. The International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, or the IUCN, classifies threatened plants and animals into 3 distinct categories to guide conservation. At the very top, we have endangered. These are in immediate danger of extinction, and they're carefully tracked worldwide on the IUCN's famous Red List. Below that are vulnerable species. Their populations have been greatly reduced, meaning they're likely to face extinction in the near future if the threats don't stop. And finally, rare species. These are populations that are incredibly small worldwide, either confined to very limited areas or just thinly scattered over a wider space.
Section 5. Protecting Megadiverse Centers. Time for global audits and vaults.
So, over the last few decades, governments have had to step in to protect and preserve our variety of species. Major legal frameworks have been built. For instance, in 1972, India passed the Wildlife Protection Act, which established natural boundaries through national parks, sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. But knowing this is a global asset, international cooperation was absolutely essential. This culminated in June 1992 at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, where India, alongside 155 other nations, signed the monumental Convention of Biodiversity.
But you might be wondering, where geographically is the vast bulk of this living wealth actually stored? Well, out of all the nations on Earth, an overwhelming majority of our planet's biodiversity is concentrated in a remarkably small number of countries, just 12.
These 12 nations are known as the Megadiversity Centers. You can think of them as the primary vaults holding our planet's greatest biological treasures. These centers are located in Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Madagascar, China, India, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Australia. The health and protection of the ecosystems within these specific borders disproportionately dictate the biological wealth of our entire world.
Which brings us to our final thought. We've decoded what biodiversity is, how it's structured, the vital economic and ecological dividends it pays out, and the forces threatening to empty our reserves. We even know exactly where the ultimate vaults are located. So, if biodiversity truly is our living wealth, literally the currency of human survival, the big question we have to ask ourselves right now is, how will we actively invest in its future? Thanks for tuning into this explainer. Keep learning and keep looking closely at the world around you.